How's it going, guys? Arto here, and today I'm going to be bringing you something different. This is, a lot of students have been asking me, hey, what are you thinking about when you're jungling, especially lower elos? When you're smurfing is way different when you are basically playing out your elo at higher elos. So this is basically what I'm just going to be explaining here. And this part of this video, or this video in general, is going to be focused on the things that I think about when I'm smurfing. Let's just say that I'm going from iron to platinum. So I like to divide this game into certain abilities, right? You have your champion abilities, and then you have the player abilities, right? The main thing is that you need to understand that these two things are very, very different. Player abilities are the abilities that you need in order for you to play well, regardless of the champion that you're playing. And champion abilities are the abilities that you need to know to actually make sure that all your mechanics are on point and stuff. Everything that has to do with your champion, runes, masteries, pages, whatever, everything, builds, etc. So for the player ability, obviously, as a jungler, you're gonna need minimap awareness, you're gonna need lane awareness, and you're gonna need efficiency. Obviously, decision making is very important, and this is something that we have to be learning in order for us to start actually climbing. I feel like these four are gonna be the most important ones. And obviously, champion abilities, you're gonna need mechanics. Obviously, you need to know the mechanics of the champion that you're playing. You need to have confidence on the champion that you're actually playing. You need to understand how to play X or Y situation. And these things come into mechanics too. But then the confidence or not hesitating will make that, be solid. You're going to need runes, meta runes, anti-meta runes, masteries and stuff, and then builds, right? You need to be able to adapt the builds towards what you want to do in the game. So these are the things that I tend to be aware of when I'm actually playing in lower elos. I don't really think about anything else. People tend to be thinking like, oh, jungle tracking is very important. Oh, punishing, counter jungling is very important. Like all these things, yes, they're important, but then you don't really have to, like when you're going from iron to platinum, you don't have to be thinking about these things yet. Like it's okay, you can build a habit and everything, but at the end of the day, these core abilities are the ones who are gonna lead you to these. Because at the end of the day, the way that you have to see it is that on lower elos players aren't specialized, and on higher elos they are. So two specialized players that take these things into account, the game side is always going to be even. Like the game state in terms of the role that they're playing is going to be even. So you need to know how to undermine that, right? And this is how you do these type of things, early dragons, jungle tracking, pathing, counter jungling, etc. Like understanding matchups, like all these things are the most important things in the higher elos. In the lower elos, you're going to be more than fine with minimap awareness, lane awareness, efficiency, and decision making. So let me just go ahead and get these defined. So what is minimap awareness? Minimap awareness is simply just looking at your minimap, right? Simply just looking at who's overextending, who's not, vision, etc. Like map movements, right? Reading the map. This is basically minimap awareness. And this is just going to be 50% of the job. The other 50% of your job is going to be lane awareness. What is lane awareness? Well, lane awareness is nothing more than just looking at your lanes, see how they are, if they're overextended, the amount of HP that they have, the amount of mana, the amount of summoners, like all these things you need to see. And minimap is not going to give you that information. So lane awareness is very, very important because these two are very complementary, and this is going to give you 100% of the information that you're going to be needing in order for you to actually have a good early game and a good pathing. Because pathing actually disregards from this. Like if you think about pathing, it's just reading the map in a way that you can do things efficiently while impacting the map and farming at the same time. That's basically your path. Obviously, this is more specialized on the higher elos because then you need to start thinking about matchups, how waves are going to be managed, like all these things, how your players want to be playing, if they're going to be slow pushing, if they're going to be fast pushing. Like this is all information that you're going to have to be factoring in your pathing. But then on the lower elos, you don't have to be thinking about that too much. What you need to be thinking about though is setup, which I forgot to put here. Setup is going to be the CC, the amount of CC that you have. For example, in this lane, I have a Cho'Gath versus a Volibear, right? Cho'Gath is a very good setup for Master Yi because of the knock-up and the silence and the slow, but then Volibear is a very good setup for me because of the Cho'Gath. I have the stun, I have the slow, I have basically all the damage, right? Mid lane, I have really good setup, but after 6 because of the Malzahar's oppression, and then Zoe has really good setup on bubble. Obviously, it's very unreliable because not all the players know how to land the bubble for some reason. And then bot lane is going to be Twitch and Seraphine, which are very immobile, and then you have Caitlyn Blitzcrank. With Blitzcrank, you can have a lot of setup. So high chances that in this game, I'm going to be focusing a lot into the top lane and the bot lane, and then after 6, I can keep an eye on the mid lane. Obviously, it's not that you're going to be disregarding the lane that you have no setup, because at the end of the day, people tend to make mistakes, and you can punish them. For example, LeBlanc, who is really hard to gank, if she starts using her W very aggressively, you can punish that. Set W2 and all these champions that have those abilities. But yeah, those are the things that you're going to be looking at. And all of these things, you're going to be able to identify them with minimap awareness and lane awareness. So these are the first two things. The next thing is going to be efficiency. What is efficiency? Efficiency is nothing more than using your time effectively to get something. You either have to be farming, you either have to be ganking, you either have to be setting up vision. If you're not doing either of these three, you're wasting time. Because at the end of the day, when you look at the enemy doing their jungle, when you look at the enemy looking at doing the dragon, doing the baron, and you're just staring there, just standing there, just giving them moral support, that's basically wasting time. And you never want to be wasting time. You always want to be efficient, because instead of actually at 10 minutes having 50 CS being 1-0, you want to be 100 CS being 3-0. And how do you arrive to this? Well, obviously, lane awareness, minimap awareness, and efficiency. So that's basically what I mean by efficiency. Always be doing something that is useful. I would even call backing also even useful at points, because you always need to be backing and spending your gold. So, be aware of that. Obviously, decision making is something that it's way harder to teach, because at the end of the day, it's your approach into the game. Obviously, I have my little time references that I have a video on. Pre-15, post-15, pre-15, time to build up advantages. Post-15, use those advantages to go for objectives, such as towers, basically. And then after 15, if you go 30 plus, it's just going to be team fighting and mechanics and stuff. So that's basically my approach. We can definitely explain this approach more in depth in another video. And setup, which we already talked about. Volibear versus, identifying the amount of CC that you have in the lane, the escapes that the enemy have, the HP that they're going to be having, the playstyle, because Yasuo's, Dravens, Kiana's, Talons, they tend to play really, really aggressive. So you can definitely punish that. So all these is going to help you in terms of the setup that you're going to have in actually your ganks. People tend to not do that. People tend to just gank whatever it is. Oh, I'm top lane. Let me just go ahead and gank top lane. It's like, no, you need to actually play towards the lane that you do have set up so that you can get an advantage. And then with that advantage, capitalize on the other lanes that you have no setup. Because you can force when you're ahead, but then when you cannot force when you're not ahead. So, whoops, sorry about that. So yeah, after this, let's go on to champion abilities. Champion's abilities is just going to be technically, mechanics. This is all you playing. Obviously, you can go into YouTube's, you can look for, there's a lot of information in YouTube in terms of mechanics. You have a lot of information of players playing all the champions. Like you can search even, let's just say Riven, or you can even look matchups like Riven versus whatever, and then you're going to have like an in-depth someone telling you about that. So mechanics is very easy to practice, but then 90% of the good things about the mechanics is going to be you practicing them. So you have to play a lot. Runes, obviously, a really good page is going to be probuilds.net, I think it is. It gives you the most recent builds that people are trying. Obviously, once you are specialized in your champion, you can definitely start having fun with the builds like I do sometimes. With the build too, you kind of, play so much that you can understand which items are good, which items are not. And then, obviously, the confidence is just going to come from you being able to actually knowing how to play your champion, and then understanding damage, understanding your limits and everything. Sadly, all of this is just going to come from you playing a lot. Like play 100 games with your champion, play 200 games with your champion, and then, test it out, test different builds, there's 3 builds. For example, with Hecarim, you have the Can Tank build, you have the Trinity Force build, you have the Sunderer build. With Xin Zhao, you have Shield Bow, you have Gale Force, you have Trinity Force, you have a lot of items, you have Stridebreaker, you have a lot of items. You can definitely try them out, see the one that fits you the best, and then just try to adapt your gameplay towards that, because then you can start, adding up items and runes, and then, see how it works best for you. So these are the 2 things that we're going to be basically looking at when we're playing. So yeah, mini-map awareness, lane awareness, efficiency, decision making, and setup is going to be basically your early game and your mid game as a jungler, which are going to be the most important things. And champion abilities, mechanics, confidence, runes, and masteries, and obviously builds are the things that are going to be more important as you're playing. Last but not least, a couple simple concepts that I can definitely put into. The first one is going to be play around, this is going to take winning lanes. Basically, playing around your winning lanes is going to be very, very important. If you play around losing lanes, you risk losing your lead. Just play towards your losing lane if you're actually very, very ahead and you have the opportunity to. If you don't, then don't. Efficiency is key. Make sure that you're always doing something, always farming, always ganking, always reading the map so that you can actually understand what it is that it's happening, and then play, get the power that you need in order for you to actually play. Try to stick to the power curve. Please, it's always good, and this is basically for this. Try not to die. Lower elos, dying is horrible. Don't die. Don't greed for kills. Trading 1-for-1 is never worth it. Trading yourself for something is never worth it. Try not to die. Dying is the least efficient thing that you can actually do in the game. So let's just go ahead and try not to die. If you cannot take the fight, just back off. If there are 4 people around the dragon and they're not doing anything, just back off. And neutral objectives. Well, this looks like a W. It's not a W. So yeah, neutral objectives are very, very important. Dragons and heralds, basically. They're very, very important. So please make sure to be aware of them, but don't kill yourselves around them. If you give first dragon, if you give second dragon, if you even give third dragon, and you're confident that you're going to be able to fight for those, make sure that you give them away and then not lose, because at the end of the day, you need to fight when you're strong or even. You cannot fight when you're behind. And last but not least, which is going to be the tip that I'm going to be giving you, is don't fight when you're weak. When you're weak, you need to make sure that you're farming. Just forget about everything, farm mode. Try to come back into the game, and then you can actually start fighting. Because I feel like in lower elos, this is a huge mistake that people tend to make. So please, guys, don't fight. It's not necessary. Just go ahead. Try to farm as much as you can. Try to be strong, and then make sure that you're fighting. Oh, the game is 0-10 and they're going to go ahead and take a dragon. Guys, analyze the situation. You don't have to fight for that dragon. Just let it go. You fight for the second one or the third one. You need time. Time is your biggest friend. Time is your biggest ally. So please. So yeah, these are going to be the best tips that I'm going to be giving you. Obviously, I can make this guide more in depth. Let me know, guys, if you want that. And yeah, as a summary, what is it that you're going to need to jungle? Is going to be minimap awareness, lane awareness, efficiency, decision making, and understanding setups. And for the for the champion ability, it's going to be mechanics, confidence, runes, and builds. This is basically what you're going to need. And if you can master these things, you can get to platinum like in no time. I can guarantee you that. And then last but not least, the 5 tips. Dying is never worth it. try to be efficient as much as you can. If you're losing, just straight up farm. Don't kill yourself over neutral objectives, and just try to, try to play cleanly. Try to play as clean as you can so that you can actually have a great game. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments if you want this guide more in depth. If not, then as always, stay healthy, drink lots of water, and have fun on the Rift, guys. See you in the next video.